Welcome, everyone. There is news to share, and it's relatively big as far as the content goes. So buckle in, brace yourself. Um, it's not all, the part of it's not happy. And I'll get that out of the way, and then I'll tell you how it affects things going forward and what's going to happen afterwards. So this isn't going to take effect immediately. There's still going to be a couple of months before this goes into effect. But Tara is leaving Mailed Fuzz as a member of the podcast team. She will be wrapping up all recordings in a couple of months' time. And she gave some notice so we could still keep doing episodes for a little bit to wrap up a few loose ends, get a few sequels done on Ace that, will round out some trilogies and things like that, and so that nothing's left dangling. Because we got to finish the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids trilogy, obviously. I mean, that's the first thing that popped out in my mind is we have to finish that. Yeah, so there's going to be about 2 to 3 months of more Tara episodes of the Ace, and then she will be bidding adieu. As far as the TV stuff is concerned, we are going to do obviously the final episode of Babylon 5. That'll happen hopefully quite soon. That'll pretty much be it for Tara doing TV reviews. We finished the season of Strange New Worlds with the last episode of B5. We'll finish that, of course. The one real casualty to the timing of all this is that it does mean that Tara will not be here to finish out the Twilight Zone reviews, which is not to worry because I'm obviously going to finish them, but it's a shame that they won't finish as they started, as they have been. I'll be switching to just me most likely for those. But that is, that's the main bit of the news, is that Tara is going to be leaving. So obviously we're going to miss her. It's a sad news. There's no way to sugarcoat it. It's not a nice thing to have to announce. Not that there's a big dramatic thing that's happening. There's not some big fight behind the scenes or anything like that. It's just she's struggling to fit it into her schedule. You've probably noticed that a few Ace episodes recently have been a little delayed. There's been a couple of skip weeks recently, because it's been quite tough finding the time to record. So that mixed with a few other personal things, they've added up to it's kind of time for her to call it a day. But she did want to sort of give some time to finish things out. So the big questions coming out of that then, sort of looking at the content as a whole, is what's happening with everything and what is happening specifically with the Atomic Cinema Experiment. Because after a little bit of thought, I really didn't want to end the show. I like having a sci-fi focused show, kind of like we have Streams for Horror. People seem to like it. It's one of our more successful audio podcast feeds. Seemed like a shame to give any of that up. So what is going to be happening, and this will kind of be a transition that takes place in November, more or less, is once Tara's wrapped up, and if we end up delaying a few of her recordings like we have had to do recently, there's a chance this might even overlap, but as Tara wraps up, the show will transition to being myself and David on the Atomic Cinema Experiment. And your question for that might be, but wait a minute, does that mean it affects Collector's Cut? It does a little bit, just a little bit. So basically, we can do 6 episodes of shows per month, as a pair, and we're going to just split it evenly down the middle. So every month there'll be 3 episodes of Collector's Cut, and there'll be 3 episodes of the Atomic Cinema Experiment, both with myself and David. The way it'll work is you'll get a week with both. You'll get then a single week with just one. Then you'll get a week with both, and then you get a week with just one, but it'll be the other one different from 2 weeks ago. And it'll just keep going like that, and that'll be the schedule, give or take. There might be times where for some reason one needs some more episodes, and maybe we'll shift things around a little bit. Like if there's say 2 sci-fi movies out in back-to-back weekends at the movies, and the way the schedule lies is that one would technically be on an off week, we might fudge it to give it an extra week. But by and large, that's going to be the system. It's going to be 3 episodes each per month. The other thing this is affecting is the Patreon content related to the shows. So first things first is that the regular... Well, actually, no, first things first is that the Ace bonus content, unfortunately, is just going to be gone. There's not enough time in the schedule that me and David record with to do 2 extra bonus things a month, especially taking on extra Ace recordings into our schedule. So the Ace content will be gone. There is a replacement for at least one of those that I'll talk about in a minute. So that's like a new announcement to make. But the other thing is that the Collector's Cut bonus content is changing a little bit as well. So right now, you get the bonus episode at the $3 tier, and you get extra reels at the $5 tier, which is the so bad movies that hopefully they're good, but they're really, really bad movies. And then we have a monthly public show called, well, technically it's Collector's Cut, the collection, but it's kind of changing to the Criterion Cut because it rolls off the tongue better. And that's a free public show. What's going to happen is one of these had to be axed, and I made the decision, and honestly it was a very easy decision. If I was going to take away one of them, which one I would take away? The regular bonus episode is going away, and the Criterion Cut will now be the Patreon show in that slot. So that will now be a $3 Patreon tier show, starting with, I think, is episode 8 in December. Yeah, I think the November episode will still be free for everyone, and then December's episode will be the first Patreon one. So the reason for that is just that the bonus episode was the easiest to cut because it's the one that's actually the toughest to pick movies for. It was natural to give it a bonus episode like Screams and Ace had bonus episodes because that's just what we do with the movie shows. But obviously because of the format of Collector's Cut, which is we're doing franchises and themes, is that a lot of the time there's not really an obvious, like, you know, it's hard to tie a movie into the franchise because we don't want to make one of the franchise movies a bonus episode. So it's been quite tough sometimes to deal with that. And we like doing the Criterion show. And the Criterion show pairs really well with extra reels because they're the 2 sides of the same coin. One is the best of the best movies, the other one's the worst of the worst movies. So that is now going to be the 2 Patreon shows for Collector's Cut. It's going to be extra reels and it's going to be the Criterion Cut at the 2 relevant tiers. So not a huge change there, one less show, but it's so we can do Ace episodes. That's where that time is going in terms of recording. So that is the big main thing that's happening with Ace, and then also affecting Collector's Cut. That is what's going to be happening. You get 3 episodes each per month, starting kind of in December, although December may actually technically have extra because the end of the year was already mapped out so much for Collector's Cut that it's really going to be January before this 3 of each per month kind of kicks in. December's still going to be full of Collector's Cut episodes, and you'll still get 3 Ace episodes. So there's a few extras, I guess, in the transition period, but once we hit 2024, it'll be 3 each per month, and that'll be the form we go. So, yeah. Don't get me wrong, it's not necessarily a guarantee that we'll never find time for more episodes. I mean, I'm sure that's something me and David will discuss and talk about if it's ever possible, but 3 of each per month is going to be what we do. So that is the plan. And for Patreon content, Criterion show is now the $3 bonus episode, effectively, and extra reels is staying where it is. Mainly because not only do we enjoy doing the Criterion show the most out of the monthly shows, so that's kind of for us, extra reels tends to be the one that gets most talked about amongst the patrons who are watching and listening to the bonus content. So that's kind of, it made the most sense to keep those 2 and ditch the bonus episode, which is very hit and miss with what types of movies are on it. You know, its identity is a little bit looser, whereas Criterion Cut's got a clear theme that it's sticking to, extra reels has got a clear theme that it's sticking to, and those can keep going. So that is the plan with those. I mentioned there was something new to announce for Patreon, kind of to make up in a way for the Ace content not going to be there. I did a survey recently and asked for suggestions, and people were, you know, mentioning a bunch of different things and saying what they were enjoying, so on and so on. One of the things that came up a few times was people asking for some kind of video game show. a podcast. And honestly, the idea of doing a monthly video game podcast, effectively like Meltdown but for video games, seemed like an easy idea to do. So starting soon, we're not waiting until like November, December. I don't think. I think this is something we might even start in September. So you'll get like a few extra things as they overlap, but we're going to be having a monthly video game podcast with myself and with Connor on Patreon at the $5 tier, effectively kind of swapping out where Meltdown was. I did like having Meltdown as a thing. I might try and shop that to some other people and see if we can get some sort of version of it going. But the good news is that hopefully it shouldn't be too long until the bonus streams episode and even more streams are back on the table, because they've obviously been on pause with Tim away on paternity leave. Hopefully it shouldn't be too long until they're in the mix again and things should feel quite healthy. I mean, that was the main stuff that I kind of wanted to mention. That's all sort of coming up over the next few months. I wanted people to be kind of aware and sort of know that we're building up to kind of like a Tara finale, as it were, and then shifting into a slightly new era. The one other thing that I was going to just sort of throw on here at the end as well is that, so I'll be taking on Twilight Zone, probably on my own, to finish that out very soon. And I think, because I've been thinking about doing another solo TV review series anyway. I've been doing Person of Interest and X-Files, and I'm enjoying doing those. I was thinking of doing a third one, but doing one that was a rewatch. But I'm thinking that I'll probably wait until after I'm finished with Twilight Zone before I start that. But the two shows that I was thinking of for that were Lost and the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So if you have any opinions on which of those you think I should do when the time comes, even if I do wait till I'm done with Twilight Zone to dive into those, I might not. I might try and just bundle everything up. It's not like there's a lot of new TV on right now. There's a few things coming. You know, Gen V's on starting in September. There's a new show from the creators of the AOA starting in November that I'll definitely try. There was something else next month, I think. But yeah, there's a few shows sprinkled throughout the months to have a look at, but there's not a ton. I would like to do something to maybe make up for the regular Ace bonus episode disappearing. I don't think it's a big deal though once Streams is back in terms of bonus content, because you'll get the $3 patrons will get the Streams bonus episode and Criterion Cut, and then $5 and up you also get extra reels. You'll get even more streams. I had to think about that there. And you'll get the new video game podcast, which the title of which I didn't even mention this earlier, but that show is going to be called Fuzzy Casuals. That is the new video game podcast that is monthly over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, starting lately in September. So that is everything I've got. So not the overall happiest of things to have to announce, but we shall make do. We will continue making content. I've been hitting a good rhythm on the TV channel recently. I'll probably have this up for patrons first, and then I'll put it out publicly on the movie channel or something, just to give everyone a heads up a little bit later. But yep, that is the plan. So hopefully you like the sound of all the things that are coming up in the coming months. But thank you very much for joining. And the reason why I'm announcing this now, even though it's a couple of months before it takes effect, is just so we don't have to go out of our way to hide lots of things as we're building up. There'll be about, I don't know, another dozen, maybe 10 to a dozen episodes of Ace with Tara still. There'll be a few more bonus episodes with Tara and a couple more meltdowns, and then that'll be it. So thank you very much for supporting and paying attention, and hopefully I've not upset you too much. But I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.